May Govanen, everybody, and welcome back to another stream. We're starting off this week with our return to our Ranger reading series, which I am super excited to pick back up. We're going to be jumping into some Bible reading, followed by Encyclopedia Eorzea, which I forgot where we left off in that. We will check that in a minute. But yeah, I'm really excited to do some more reading on stream and to lose my voice yet again. Can't wait. But yeah. Also, shout out to PC Doggo. I don't know if he's still here, but good friend of mine. Got to meet him in real life at a certain other VTuber's wedding that I went to, and he's a great streamer. Definitely check him out, and he is currently suffering from an injured jaw, so hoping and praying that gets better for him. But yeah, he was playing Lies of P yesterday. I was really enjoying watching him for a bit. Also, hello, Wolfie. How's it going? Welcome to the stream. I hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Let me get you a shout out, too, because I don't think any of my mods are here. What have you been up to, Wolfie? Hope things have been going well for you. All right. Well, on that note, everybody, I'm going to start getting things set up for the reading part of the stream. And we're going to jump into, like I said, a short Bible reading, followed by a lot of Encyclopedia Eorzea, which I think, actually, let me see, where did we leave off in Encyclopedia Eorzea? Oh, right, we're doing the written edition of A Realm Reborn story. That's going to be fun to read through. So, yeah, looking forward to that. Get to read about Realm Reborn and stuff, playing it. That should be fun. But yeah, we just got past the part in Encyclopedia Eorzea. We went through like the whole history of chronological like history of like pre ARR in Final Fantasy lore. It's pretty cool. Not much in you. I'm good. I'm doing good. Doing very good. Been very busy this week with me getting back to my IRL job and just a lot of craziness. But you know, outside of that, been doing good. Excited to get back to streaming a little bit. And, yeah. So, without further ado, let's set this up. I'm going to have to adjust my camera because we will not be using my VTuber model for the rest of the stream. Because I need the camera to show my actual books. Because I am not a rich streamer with 2 computers and 2 webcams, so I can't do both at the same time. Anyway, stand by, everybody. Okay. Let's double check that webcam. If I can find it in here. Oh, there it is. You are not working. Oh, that's why. Now it should work. What? No. No. Why are you in the corner? How did I do this last time? I thought I used you. Did I not use you? Stand by, everybody. I gotta remember how I did this. Was it not in here? Did I use... I always forget what I did for this. Hold on. Hold on, I'm gonna check something. Was it this one? I always forget which one I use for this. Aha! There we go. Although, why is it... Oh, no, that's correct. Okay, hold on. Now I gotta adjust it. Digital more. Even with the desk here, and I think we are good with that. That should be fine. Famous last words, right? Okay, let me move everything, and then we will get reading. The thing you all came here for. So let me just put this under here. Oops. That way that cord doesn't get lost. Say goodbye to the fancy keyboard, and hello to Serious Fauna from HoloLive, apparently. And my 1599 Geneva Bible. Okay, cool. Alright, and now, without further ado, we shall begin the reading for today. Alright, so I figured, since we are starting a new year, that we should start off our third Ranger Reading episode with the way that the good old Bible starts, which is with the book of Genesis. Also, the cool thing about this edition of the Geneva Bible that I have is that it also has like stuff from like different founding fathers of the United States of America in it, which is pretty cool. Also, old style text. Love that. It's like this is like a page from an old Bible from like 1599. Pretty cool. Pretty cool to see like the old style. As a history buff, I love that. I love that. Okay, so without further ado, let's read the first chapter of Genesis, and then we will jump into Encyclopedia Eorzea. All right. Genesis 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light that it was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and morning were the first day. Again, God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." Then God made the firmament, and separated the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. So the evening and the morning were the second day. God said again, "Let the waters under heaven be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear," and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and he called the gathering together of the waters seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth bud forth the bud of the herb, that seedeth seed, the fruitful tree, which beareth fruit according to its kind, which hath its seed in itself upon the earth." And it was so. And the earth brought forth the bud of the herb, that seedeth seed according to its kind. Also the tree that beareth fruit, which hath his seed in himself according to his kind. And God saw that it was good. So the evening and the morning were the third day. And God said, "Let there be light in the firmament of the heavens, to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens, to give light upon the earth." And it was so. Then God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made also the stars. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven, to shine upon the earth, and to rule in the day and in the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. So the evening and the morning were the fourth day. Afterward God said, "Let the waters bring forth in abundance every creeping thing that hath life, and let the fowl fly upon the earth in the open firmament of the heaven." Then God created the great whales and every living thing and moving, which the waters brought forth in abundance according to their kind, and every feathered fowl according to his kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God blessed them, saying, "Bring forth fruit and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth." So the evening and the morning were the fifth day. Moreover, God said, "Let the earth bring forth the living things according to his kind, cattle, and that which creepeth, and the beasts of the earth according to his kind, and it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to his kind, and the cattle according to his kind, every creeping thing of the earth according to his kind. And God saw that it was good. Furthermore, God said, "Let us make man in our image according to our likeness. Let him rule over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the heavens, and over the beasts, and over all the earth, and over everything that creepeth and moveth on the earth." Thus God created the man in his image. In the image of God created he him. He created them male and female. And God blessed them, and God said to them, bring forth fruit and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the heaven, and over every beast that moveth upon the earth. And God said, behold, I have given unto you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the earth, and every tree wherein is the fruit of a tree bearing seed, that shall be to you for meat. Likewise to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the heaven, and to everything that moveth upon the earth, which hath life in itself, every green herb shall be for meat. And it was so. And God saw that he had made all that he had made, and lo, it was very good. So the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Also, I will say this, the book of Genesis is like one of my favorite books in the Bible, because it is just so fast. As a science fan, I love studying like the scientific evidence for how the Genesis account actually fits the actual scientific or observational science that we see today. It's pretty cool, especially the global flood later in the book of Genesis, because that explains the fossil account way more than way better than evolution does, surprisingly. Highly recommend Answers in Genesis, by the way. Look into them. You'll have some fascinating stuff you will learn. Anyway, that is today's Bible reading from the good old 1599 Geneva Bible. Good old history right there. And now, Encyclopedia Eorzea, Volume 1. Picking up where we left off last time. I still love all the art in this book. I need to buy the other ones when I finish this one. And we left off last time reading all this. This was fun to read. All the chronological history that comes before ARR. And now we shall begin reading A Realm Reborn, but written instead of played. This should be fun. You still need to get these books? Yes, they're super nice. The art is like number one, you get a lot of lore that you do not get in the game, which as a lore junkie, I absolutely love. But also you just get so much good art too that you also just don't get anywhere else, and it's so good. So good. I mean, probably the coolest thing that I think I've read through is so far is everything in this. Was it this section? Yeah, it was like back in this whole section right here, which is about all the astral and umbral eras that came before the era that obviously the game takes place in. So you read about all the history of everything that came before that, which, you know, some of it, like this whole era section right here is all stuff that really isn't talked about in the game at all, which is pretty cool. You also get more details on, like, you know, the Alligans and everything that went on with that. More details on the Forgotten Age, which is pretty cool. The one age that also no one talks about. And then there's also the whole three-way war that happened in the Fifth Age, with the three early nations all fighting each other. Which this one's pretty cool too. Reading about you have the city of Mayak with all the void experimentation that they did, and then you had what was the one that was in the Black Shroud? Trying to remember what it was called. Oh, Amdapor, right. Then you had the magical land of Amdapor, and then you had the floating city of Nim, which later got cursed. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Lots of cool stuff in these books. But yeah, for now, we'll pick up where we left off. I love this art of Ifrit, though. It makes him look cooler than he does in... Oh, wait, that's actually Ifrit versus... No, that's Ifrit getting summoned. That's what that is. But yeah, makes him look cooler than he does in the actual game. Still not as cool as the Final Fantasy 16 Ifrit, though. Anyway, A Realm Reborn. Oh, this is actually funny. I just realized we read chapter 1 of Genesis, and then we're reading A Realm Reborn, and this... We're just doing a lot of beginnings here. I like it, though. Anyway, A Realm Reborn. Every end marks a new beginning, so it was that Eorzea, in the 5 years following the 7th Umbral Calamity, rose from the ashes to rebuild, as did their would-be Imperial conquerors. And then we start here, Tales from the Calamity. There was much work to be done in the days following the events at Cartano. Countless Eorzeans had been robbed of their homes and livelihoods, for Bahamut had managed to wreak untold destruction before he was defeated. In Ul'dah, rioters had taken to the streets, driven by madness and fear. It was only by the impassioned words of the Sultana Nanamo Ul'Namo and the brave actions of her 7 defenders that order was restored, and formal efforts to administer aid and succor to the people could begin. In Limsel Minsa, I'm gonna screw this up so bad. Admiral Merylwib Bluffswithin, I can never say her name. Although I have a lot more respect for her after reading some of the stuff we read that she did. You know, in early days of her story that is just not talked about in the game at all again. But yeah, she's pretty cool. With laying in a state of torpor after suffering injuries during the Battle of Cartano, awoke and set about establishing the Maelstrom's temporary command at the Morbi dry docks, which had been sheltered from the worst of the Great Wave, which had lain waste to Vilburn's coast. And in Gridania, Connie Senna's younger siblings, Rayo and Arun, oversaw the recovery efforts, while the elder Seedseer remained in Cartano for a time, seeking out what few survivors remained and saving those who could yet be saved. Meanwhile, having watched the battle unfold from the deck of an Imperial airship, Legatus Gaius von Belzer, hey, look, screenshot of him right there, commander of the 14th Legion, saw an opportunity. Upon withdrawing to Alamigo with the remainder of his fleet, he sent troops to Mordanis Castrum Novum with orders to execute the remnants of Van Darnus's 7th Legion and secure the fortress for the 14th. From there, they dispatched cohorts to Lonoske, Thanalan, the Black Shroud, and Coerthus, and upon the lands they claimed were built many new castra. Although the Eorzean alliance was not blind to the Empire's aggression, they had not the strength to oppose them. When the 5th cohort encroached upon Ul'Dah's interests in northern Thanalan, it was all General Roban and the Immortal Flames could do to hold the line. Once the two sides had retreated behind their fortifications, the Uldans could only look on helplessly as the Gridanians commenced the construction of Castrum Meridianum, a danger pointed at the very heart of Eorzea. Oh boy. Oh, yeah, and it shows a chart of where all their castrums are. That's pretty cool. Which, I mean, you do see this at the end of ARR2 when they're going over the plan for the final mission, where Alphino kind of is talking through all the plans for the different castrum assaults, which is pretty cool. A new dawn! 6 months after the fall of Dalamud, in a quiet corner of Ul'Dah, the surviving members of the Circle of Knowing and the Path of the 12 came together to discuss their shared future. The Path of the 12, formed in 1570, had obstinately been an obscure religious sect devoted to the pursuit of spiritual knowledge. In truth, however, it had been a haven for walkers of the path, men and women blessed with the Echo, a power whose potential they were only beginning to understand, and its charismatic antecedent, the Lady Minfilia, was herself among the strongest in this gift. Oh! Hey, there you go. Wait, 1570. Wait a minute, 1570. When was that? Oh, right. That was here. Yeah, so that was just at the beginning of everything. Okay, cool. Cool. Gotta love that cross-referencing lore. Anyway. Wait, where was I? Oh, here. Minfilia had awoken to her power at the age of 17 when she somehow found herself walking in the memories of another. Troubled and terrified by the experience, she confided in Thancred, an old friend and secret member of the Circle of Knowing. Though this she did not know at the time. Recognizing the signs, Thancred introduced Minfilia to Louis Sois Livier, his master and mentor, who shared with her his knowledge of the Echo. a power said to have been bestowed upon individuals on the cusp of an umbral calamity, that they might stand against the coming darkness. The echo, he claimed, was more than the stuff of legends, and the self-same power Minfilia possessed. Though wary at first, she and the Archon became close friends, and it was with his enthusiastic encouragement that she would found the Path of the 12, and the two organizations would support each other in various endeavors over the coming years. On the eve of the Battle of Cartano, Louisoix had come to her organization's headquarters, the Waking Sands. Oh boy, it's the Waking Sands. Oh no. I think I still have one of those letters for a fast travel there. Vesper Bay. Oh man. To reveal to her his plans to forestall Eorzea's destruction. The Archon would summon the 12 using forbidden arts known only to him, and with their combined strength prevent the fall of the Lesser Moon. Such strength, however, posed a threat in itself, for should Eorzea's patron deities assume physical form, it seemed more than likely that they would be prone to the self-same appetites as the gods of the Beastmen. Should that prove the case, their mere presence would bleed the land of life, and so Louisoix would instead call upon a fraction of the 12's power, enough to stay Dalmud's descent, but no more. Which now we know, well, spoilers, but now we know after Endwalker that never would have happened anyway, but yeah. Alas, to ensure all would come to pass as intended, he would need to take his own life in the midst of the ritual. However, Louisoix had come for another purpose than to discuss his impending death. He had seen in the antecedent great potential, and during that meeting he told her the role he would have her play in the days to come. So it was that 6 months after that fateful day, in accordance with Louisoix Leviere's wishes, the Circle of Knowing and the Path of the 12 were merged to form the Scions of the Seventh Dawn under the leadership of Minfilia. Oh boy. It's how the group got formed. I'm surprised we never get that lore in the actual game, to be honest. It's kind of surprising to me. A new hero. For many, the facts surrounding the calamity remain a mystery to this day, as the memories of Bahamut's rampage and the miraculous defeat remain muddled and indistinct. A band of valiant adventurers is known to have been instrumental in this victory, yet despite all efforts, none can remember their names nor their faces. To try merely brings to mind silhouettes amidst a blinding glare, a shared image which has resulted in these forgotten heroes being dubbed the Warriors of Light. Yeah, gee, I wonder who they were. Though it was widely believed that these heroes all perished in the fires of Cartano, 5 years later rumors of a survivor began to spread through Eorzea. This singular man or woman, by some accounts, funny. I see what you did there, book. Haha, funny. Traveled far and wide, taking part in conflicts great and small, often standing for the weak and downtrodden. Eventually, he or she came to the attention of the Signs of the Seventh Dawn, not only for their magnanimous deeds, but for their manifestation of the Echo, that great power to walk in memories of others. Accordingly, Minfilia saw fit to extend this adventurer a formal invitation that they might join in their ongoing fight against the primal menace. And that's you! You! Pointing at you in the chat. I mean, what? The Lord of the Inferno, this guy. The adventurer was first tasked with investigating a series of kidnappings in Thanalan, which were eventually revealed to be the work of an old Dawn merchant in league with the Amalja. In a bid to learn the whereabouts of the abductees, the Immortal Flames devised a plan to seize the Amalja responsible, using the merchant as bait. Alas, a traitor in their ranks revealed all, resulting in the capture of the adventurer and his comrades, who were subsequently presented by the beastmen to their god Ifrit as offerings to be made his thralls. However, by the power of the Echo, that holy gift bestowed by Mother Heidelin herself, the adventurer proved immune to Ifrit's tempering, much to the primal's chagrin. Flying into a rage, Ifrit attempted to slaughter the adventurer outright, only to find himself outmatched. Thus did the Lord of the Inferno fall. The first trial of the video game. The Paragons of Darkness. With the adventurer's victory over the Beastman god, the Immortal Flames Bloodsworn were free to secure the captives and return them safely to Old Ah. Wait a minute. I'm trying to see what's going on in this image. Oh, is this freaking... Oh, I think this is Maniac Manor, actually. Yeah, no, that's the Maniac Manor dungeon. That's funny. That's some nice art of it. Anyway. With the adventurer's victory over the beastmen god, the immortal flames Bloodsworn were free to secure the captives and return them safely to Ul'dah. Word quickly spread of the valiant hero, the Icon Slayer, spurring others to seek to enlist his aid and that of the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. On the behest of the Order of the Twin Adder, the adventurer was dispatched to treat with the sylphs of Little Solace, whom they feared might summon Ramu, the Lord of Levin. After undertaking many tasks to earn the trust of the diminutive beings, he discovered that while the Primal had indeed been summoned in the past, he was a guardian by nature, and Gridania need not fear sylphic aggression. Yes, it's so funny to me that the Primal summoned by the Sylphs was not as big of a problem as the Primal summoned by the Moogles. Explain that. Moogles are more dangerous than Sylphs, apparently. Anyway. However, a new threat soon revealed itself to the adventure. Laha Brea of the Ascians, otherwise known as Laha Bread, one of many mysterious masked beings said to have sown chaos and discord since time immemorial. Though the Ascians' designs are anything but clear, the Scions knew better than to leave them to their own devices. The adventurer and his allies set about investigating the masked man, tracking him to Little Alamigo, where he had convinced a group of desperate youths to attempt to summon Ralgar, the Destroyer. From there, the adventurer followed his trail to what the art is, where he was confronted by two more Ascians who sought to measure the hero's strength for their master. These deeply troubling events served to confirm that the Ascians had bequeathed the knowledge of summoning to various peoples to further their own dark ends. Oh boy. There he is, the Lord of Craigs. Mr. Titan himself. The Scions were soon forced to turn their attention to Vilbrand, where the kobolds were said to have once more summoned their patron god, Titan, to defend their land from Limsel Midsa's aggressive expansion. This was not the first time the Lord of Craigs had been called forth from the ether, though for 12 years earlier, in 1565, the famed Company of Heroes had been employed to rid the land of the primal menace. They succeeded, but at great cost, and in the wake of the calamity, the mercenary group chose to disband, bereft of other options. And, bereft of other options, the Maelstrom turned to the Scions of the Seventh Dawn for aid. Y'shtola and the adventurer's first course of action was to seek out the erstwhile members of the Company of Heroes, believing them to be possessed of invaluable tactical knowledge. After many trials and tribulations, aka one of the worst parts of the entire game still to this day, the purpose of which was not entirely clear at the time, ain't that the truth? This superstition was proved true, and the Scions learned of an aetheryte which could be used to deliver forces directly into Titan's sanctuary. And so in a moment that shall forever be enshrined in the annals of Eorzean history, the adventurer slew the Lord of Craigs and spared Limsel Midsa his terrible vengeance. Alas, this triumph would be tempered by terrible tragedy. Upon returning to the Waking Sands, the adventurer was greeted by a sight to make his blood run cold: the bodies of his beloved allies, victims of a desperate struggle. Among them was Noraxia, a Sylphic ally, and through her memories, the adventurer learned that the carnage was the result of the Imperial raid led by Livia Van Junius, a tribunus who served under Gaius Van Balzar. Having come for the Icon Slayer, they left instead with Minfilia and other senior Scions, but not before slaughtering countless others with impunity. Yes, the one part of the story that got me really hooked on the game, right there. Friends lost and found. With her dying breath, Noraxia implored the adventurer to seek shelter at the church of Saint Adama Landmama. Landama? I don't know. Heeding her counsel, he sought out Father Illud, and by secret word, the Scions marked him as a friend. The adventurer aided there in secret for a time, assisting the funeral rites for his fallen comrades. He befriended a man named Marquez, a survivor of Carno suffering from amnesia, who had retained advanced engineering skills from his former life. However, this brief respite came to an end when one day Alphen Olivier cast open the doors of the church. Dun 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 dun. The young grandson of Archon Louis Sois had crossed paths with the adventurer several times before, including at the remembrance services held to commemorate the Battle of Carno. A Charlian nobleman and graduate of the Studium, the youth of 16 summers and his twin sister Eorzea had come to Eorzea against the wishes of their father, that they might join with the Scions of the Seven Dawn and carry on their grandfather's legacy to safeguard the realm. Having learned of a new primal threat following the attack on the Waking Sands, he had resolved to enlist the help of the surviving adventurer, and that of the famed Sid von Garland. The Garlean engineer had fled the Empire 15 years ago and came to Eorzea, where he founded the Garland Ironworks, a company dedicated to the development and production of advanced magitech. He had shared his knowledge of Garlean technology with the people of Eorzea and served as a trusted advisor to the Alliance. It even gone so far as to take part in military operations, such as when he delivered a group of adventurers to Riven Road to confront Nail von Darnus. Sid had vanished in the calamity and was presumed by many to have died, but in truth the engineer had survived. Robbed of his memories by the tragic events of that day, he had wandered aimlessly until coming to the church of Saint Adama Lindama. I hope I'm saying that right, where he was taken into the care of Father Illud and given the name Marquez. Though he was somewhat confused by Alphino's claims, Sid sensed that the boy spoke the truth and decided to assist him in the adventure in the hopes that it might help him to recover his memory. I hate that reading this. It's just making me think of Rover from Wuthering Waves, but it's Sid. Oh gosh. To combat Garlemald's imperial ambitions, Sid von Garland shared many secrets of magitech technology with the Eorzea Alliance, including the Ceruleum engine. Some nice art of Sid, too. The search for the Enterprise. Yes, but not the one from Star Trek. Alphino revealed that the Ixal of Gridania had summoned Garuda, a fearsome and bloodthirsty primal. Yet therein lied an opportunity, or so the youth believed, for if they somehow managed to defeat Garuda, it would serve as a warning to other beast tribes that even their mightiest gods could be felled. If they were to face their foe, however, they would need to circumvent the Tempest, which shielded her sanctuary, a feat only capable with the Enterprise, Sid's mission airship. The search for the Enterprise led the trio to the Ishgardian territory of Central Corythus, a land as cold and unwelcoming as its people. However, with the aid of an eccentric knight of House Fortam and a young nobleman of House Halenart, the party learned that the airship could be found in the Stone Vigil, an Ishgardian fortress which had been overrun by their Dravanian enemies years ago. Having no choice, they fought their way deep into the fallen fortress until at last they came upon the Enterprise, and with it made their escape back to Gridania. Once designed to serve as a line of defense against the horde incursions into western Corythus, the Stone Vigil was repurposed before its fall to Dravanians to house Ishgard's small yet formidable fleet of aerial warships. Really? Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. See? The stuff you learn from reading the book. The Lady of the Vortex. That's some cool art of her right there. I love how the art makes them look cooler than they do in the actual game. Also, very quick hydration break. Gotta stay hydrated when reading, chat. Okay. The Lady of the Vortex. Years of neglect had taken its toll on the Enterprise, and in its condition, the airship could not possibly withstand the tumultuous winds which encircled the Howling Eye, Garuda's sanctuary. To safely breach the barrier, Sid devised a plan to harness the power of a corrupted crystal that they might alter the elemental aspect of the ether comprising the primal's defenses. Working closely with the esteemed Professor competent in his dedicated pupils. The adventurer obtained a corrupted crystal to power Sid's dually fashioned elemental converter, and at long last the trio embarked upon their journey to confront Gerda. Also, like the second worst part of ARR right there. I hated that whole quest line. Ugh. Still not as bad as the Titan one, though. Stirred by the familiar roar of the Enterprise's engines, Sid endeavored to recall his past, but it was only with the aid of the adventurer's echo that he at last came to remember his name, his people, and his purpose. Amidst the whirling winds, the adventurer succeeded in striking down the Lady of the Vortex, only to see her rise once more, reinvigorated by the belief of her excelling disciples. It was at this moment that Gaius Van Belzar then entered the fray, seemingly bent on goading the defeated Primal into one final act of defiance. Garuda dutifully obliged, slaughtering her captive kobolds and Emulja, whose cries of agony served to summon their own patron deities. As Garuda prepared to consume the ether of her lesser brethren, the Black Wolf called forth the Ultima weapon, an elegant relic found deep beneath Girabani and restored by Garlean Magitech, which summarily dispatched and seemingly absorbed all three primals. Wholly unprepared to face this awe-inspiring new foe, the adventurer and his allies had no choice but to flee for their lives. Flee for your lives. Reclaiming the dawn's light, Alphino, Sid, and the adventurers sought refuge within the echoing halls of the waking sands, and there were reunited with the Scions, Yida and Y'shtola. The pair had spent the days since the raid on their headquarters, attempting to locate their missing comrades, and their inquiries had at last borne fruit. Minfili and the other high-ranking Scions were being held prisoner in Castrum Sentry, an imperial stronghold in Mordona. Recognizing that it would be no small task to free them, the adventurer and his comrades set about gathering more intelligence. In the process, we reunited with Biggs and Wedge. Hey, they're right there. 2 Garland Ironworks engineers who had been captured along with the other Scions, but had managed to escape during transport. After regrouping in Mordona's Revenant's Toll, the engineers and the Scions hatched a plan to infiltrate Castrum Sentry by impersonating Garlean soldiers. With the assistance of local adventurers, they obtained Imperial uniforms and a Magitech Reaper, and with them managed to enter the Castrum undetected and free Minfilia, Papalimo, Urianger, and Tataru! Reunited, the Scions narrowly escaped the wrath of Livia Van Junius by leaping aboard the Enterprise. But as they flew to safety, they spied Gaius Van Belzar standing beside the Ultima weapon and the Asian La Habrea, who, to the Scions' dismay, threw back his hood to reveal the face of Thancred, their friend and ally, whom the Asian had been controlling for some time. Oh no! Plot twist from the game and the book, man. Operation Archon. Oh, look. It's the big four. The one on top being the former hardest trial in the game. I mean, what? Surrender to the Empire, or share the fate of the false gods he had pledged to exterminate. Such was the ultimatum Gaius Van Belzar had issued to the Alliance leaders, spurring them to convene an emergency meeting in Ul'dah. Though they balked at the Legatus' terms, they believed they had no choice. For the Scions of the Seven Dawn were gone, or so they had believed, until Minfilia and the others strode into the fragrant chamber. In urgent tones, she and Alphino implored them not to surrender, but to place their faith once more in the Scions, and stand together against Van Belzar and his Ultima weapon. Owing to this timely intervention, Eorzea's leaders resolved to fight the Empire to the last, and at once turned their attentions to the matter of how best to coordinate their military might. So it was that Operation Archon was conceived, the largest single counter-offensive in the realm's troubled history, and in which the Alliance would strike at every Imperial stronghold standing upon Eorzean soil. The first phase of Operation Archon saw the Alliance eliminate one of the Black Wolf's most trusted lieutenants, Ritanian Visas. Yeah, that guy, the former hardest trial in the game. Acting on intelligence that he would be visiting Cape Westwind, good old Cape Westwind, for a routine inspection. The Immortal Flames launched an assault on the Imperial outpost. The adventurer then led a small unit into the innermost sector, and at the end of a fierce struggle, dealt the Prefectus his death blow. With Ritanian's demise, the forces garrisoned at Castor Macedons were thrown into disarray, allowing the Alliance to commence the second phase of Operation Archon. The Maelstrom laid siege to the leaderless stronghold, and Admiral Merwolb herself led the Crimson Fleet to blockade Castra Meridium. Meanwhile, in the 12s led the Order, the Twin Adder and a contingent of Sylphs surrounded Castrum Oriens, thus completely severing Castrum Meridianum's primary lines of supply. For the third phase of Operation Archon, the Order of the Twin Adder blockaded the railway connecting Castri and Meridianum, preventing the timely arrival of reinforcements from Mordona. The Immortal Flames then marched against the stronghold with all their might, though in truth, this was but a feint. The assault on Castrum Meridium. That's actually some nice art of the Ultima weapon in Gaius. I like that. Through a carefully coordinated series of attacks, the Eorzea Alliance had succeeded in isolating Castrum Meridianum. However, they could not lay siege to the fortress indefinitely, for Imperial reinforcements would surely come from far and wide to its defense. In particular, the Garlean forces stationed in Alamigo could easily be dispatched to Castrum Meridianum by airship, rendering the Alliance's efforts for naught. Therefore, they would need to strike while the iron was hot. While the garrison's eyes were drawn outwards by General Roban's assault, the self-same adventurer who slew Ritian, whatever his name is, once more took charge of an elite adventurer unit. They stole past the defenses of Castrum Meridianum and attempted to deactivate the Magitech field which protected the Praetorium, the fortress within a fortress where an Ultima weapon was housed. Yet again, the adventurer and his allies emerged triumphant, successfully disabling the Magitech field generator, as well as defeating Livia Sejunius into the bargain. The Tribunus who had led the brutal raid on the Waking Sands. At last, the path to the Praetorium was open, and so it was that Sid von Garland delivered the adventurer and his comrades to the stage of the final confrontation with Gaius von Balzar and the Ultima weapon. I remember when that part of the story used to take forever. You had to find a key and all this other goofiness. The good old days. The Ultima weapon, and also the meme. A relic of the third Astral Era, the Ultimate Weapon was a feat of Allegan technology. The same technology which saw the reach of the Allegan Empire extend to the four corners of Hydaelyn. After being employed to great effect on the southern continent of Mercidia, the mechanical juggernaut had been buried and lain undisturbed for 5,000 years. Upon its rediscovery, the 14th Legion of the Imperial Garlean army had refitted it to serve as a countermeasure against the ever-growing primal threat. However, it later came to light in a report delivered to the Eorzean Alliance by the Science of the Seventh Dawn that, despite the best efforts of Nero Tolskeva, the Empire had failed to reactivate the Ultima weapon on its own. It was only after Ascian intervention that they had managed to awaken the monstrosity by harnessing the power of the Heart of Sabik, an ancient relic infused with vast quantities of ether. There, within the Praetorium, the Ascian Lahabrea revealed his true intention to enemy and ally both to harness the life force of the primals and quicken this core, that he might unleash Ultima, a spell of unimagical destructive power contained therein. I'm like literally quoting the lines of that fight in my head because I've heard them so many times. In an instant, the Praetorium was not more than a smoking crater. Such devastation. 'Twas not his intention. Gosh dang it. I had to quote the meme. Yet by the grace of Mother Hyalin's blessing, the adventurer was spared death, and as the fires raged all about, he laid low both Gaius Ben Balzar and the Ultima weapon. Thus did the conquest of the Black Wolf end in smoke and ashes. Also nice art of such desolation right here. The destruction wrought by the Ultima was, according to eyewitness accounts, akin to a volcanic eruption. To this day, the precise nature and origins of the Heart of Sabik, an ancient artifact Lahabrea used to invoke the ancient magic, remains unknown. Until you get to the end of Endwalker. Anyway. The dawning of the 7th Astral Era. With the destruction of the Ultima weapon, Operation Archon was proclaimed a resounding success. Dun, dun, dun. Their efforts swelling with pride and relief, the weary allies came together in the shadow of the Keeper of the Lake and there declared to all and sundry a definitive end, not only to their desperate struggle against Van Balzar's 14th Legion, but to the petty squabbles which had divided their nations for far too long. They were under no illusions. The realm was yet beset by countless problems, and the scars left by the calamity would linger for generations to come. Nevertheless, they believed that their triumph at Castrum Meridianum could mark the turning point, the first steps toward a united Eorzea, which could stand against the might of Garlabald. And so Chief Admiral Merib Bluffs, but I can never say her name, Flame General Raban Alden and Elder Seed Seer Connie Senna raised their voices as one and proclaimed that on this day, by the light of the crystal, the 7th astral era had come, and the realm was at last truly reborn. And then we get to the post-patches, I think. Yeah, this is all post-patch stuff. And there's Heaven's Ward right there. Do I want to read the post patches in a separate stream or read it now? No, we're only 51 minutes in. We'll read it now. We'll do the post patches and then next time we'll do Heaven's Ward. Okay. Post patches. A realm awoken. At long last, Eorzea was posed to enter a new era of peace. Yet where there is light, there will always be shadow. Seizing upon the destruction of the Ultima weapon, the Beast Tribes resumed their efforts to summon their primals, while remnants of the once defeated Garlean forces resurfaced with renewed ambitions. Threats old and new, known and forgotten, were on the horizon, and the future was anything but certain. The future of the Scions. Following the success of Operation Archon, the adventurer who had been instructed in Gaius Van Balzar's defeat instrumental in Gaius Van Balzar's defeat, was renowned far and wide as the Warrior of Light. The eyes of the world were drawn to the signs of the Seventh Dawn and their once covert headquarters in Vesper Bay, the halls of the Waking Sands. Pray return to the Waking Sands. Were thronged with petitioners seeking to engage their services for personal gain, and for a time the organization debated whether or not to entertain their dubious proposals, that they might be empowered to do greater good. Ultimately, the Scions resolved to maintain their neutrality and, to that end, decide to move their headquarters beyond the borders of Ul'dah and the other great nations. To remain in Vesper Bay would leave them at the mercy of the Syndicate, or at the very least, Lord Lalarito, the member who had practically funded the reconstruction of Vesper Bay himself. Good old Lalarito. There were security considerations as well. The Imperial raid on the Waking Sands had not only been devastating for the Scions, but it also endangered the civilians living and working nearby. With their presence now known to all, it was doubtless only a matter of time before a similar incident occurred. The Scions' new headquarters would be established in Revenant's Toll, yes, the better area. An outpost in Mordona, established largely under the auspices of the Adventurers Guild. Though somewhat underdeveloped at the time, it lied firmly within neutral territory and was also frequented by a veritable legion of adventurers who could serve as potential recruits. Furthermore, the guild was more than happy to have the Scions, provided they did their part to contribute to the development of the frontier settlement and help shore up its defenses to deter attacks from the nearby remnants of the Imperial Army. Oh no. This part. Ugh. A primal unlike any other, ain't that the truth? I have the song in my head. Ugh. Anyway, while the Scions were in the midst of relocating to Revenant's Toll, they learned that a primal, or an entity resembling one, had been detected in Gridania. Good King Moogle Mog, the 12th of his name, oh gosh, had returned to the 12's Wood after a 5-year absence, having apparently been summoned by the Moogles Guard, a group of Moogles devoted to protecting their people by any necessary means. However, at first glance, this particular foe seemed fundamentally different from the primals of the Ixal and the Sylphs. We're getting a double raid! Oh my gosh! Welcome in, everyone. Coming in with the raid, we have the chaotic sheep herself, Screw Chaos, and Raya Wintry. Welcome, everyone, coming in with the raid. How are you all doing? I hope you had a great stream. Let me get some shout-outs here. Let me guess, was Final Fantasy involved at all? No, Pokemon. Wow. Okay, I was wrong. I was wrong. Okay, cool. Pokemon and I've never heard of that game. I've never heard of that game. But also, I'm not that big into Pokemon, so it kind of makes sense. Well, I hope you guys had fun. I hope the Pokemon adventures went well. We're here for the Bible. Well, unfortunately, you missed that part. But we did have kind of a funny moment, or unintentionally, but also intentionally. We're starting off the year with reading the beginning of the Bible with the first chapter of Genesis and A Realm Reborn in Encyclopedia Eorzea. So it's like perfect. I'm like, oh yes, we're reading the starts of everything. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Anyway, it feels even now that the hunger. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! No! Why? That's your okay. Yeah, you know that makes a lot of sense for you, Screw Chaos. And yeah, well, how far are you in the story again? I want to say something, but I also realize it could be a potential spoiler, so I'm not gonna say it until I know how far in story you are. So, gosh dang Xenos. Although I'd still take Xenos over this horrid monstrosity that's right here. Screw good King Moogle Mog, the 12th of his name. Ugh. What do you mean? It makes a lot of sense? Gosh dang it. I'm not. I want to say what I want to say, but I won't because potential spoilers anyway. You just started Shadowbringers? Gosh dang it, you're not far enough. Anyway, how far are you in Shadowbringers? Shadowbringers is so good. Is it about my reflexes? No, but that can be involved though, potentially, maybe. Anyway, whereas Garuda and Ramu were worshipped as guardian deities, the Moogle king was a mythical figure who ruled in an age when Moogles served as gods in the heavens. Oh gosh. When the gods grew discontent and started squabbling amongst themselves, good King Moogle Mog the 12th lowered a rope to the world below to allow his people to descend to save. Why is this written as if it's real history? Gosh dang it. Freaky Moogles, man. Though they escaped, he was forced to remain in the heavenly realm thereafter. What? I just realized this art makes it look like King Moogle Mog has angel wings. I hate this so much. Having saved his people once, it was believed that he would come again in their time of need. At the behest of the Order of the Twin Adder, the Warrior of Light journeyed to the 12th Wood, and with cooperation of the Moogles, he sought out and confronted the Moogles' guard and their liege lord in Thornmark. Though hard-pressed, the adventurer won the day, leaving the loyal Moogles' guard to look on in horror at their beloved King of Legend disintegrated into ether, leaving behind no corpse. His manner of death all but confirmed the science's worst fears. Like the primals of the beast tribes, good King Moogle Mog the 12th had been called forth by means of a rite imparted to the Moogle guard by the Asians. Always the Asians, man. I just found back Oriange in the funny... Oh, yes. Got in the area of fairies, in the pixie area. You weren't there? Gosh, dang it. Were you there? Were you there, Screw Chaos? Were you there? Anyway, yes, Oriange in his better outfit, by the way. Thankfully, that man finally learned some fashion when he got teleported to a different world, but yeah. About freaking time, that outfit in the first 3 expansions was just horrendous. Ugh, freaking Oriange. At least he finally learned some good fashion, man. Yes, you were there? Are you a secret Moogle, Screw Chaos? Do you have a palm on your head? Did you cut your palm off so no one would know you're a Moogle? Is that what I'm hearing? Oh, man. Oh, I didn't read this part describing the picture. Through a combination of the powers containing the crystal and the force, the Moogle Guard's collective faith, good King Moogle the 12th was called forth from myth into being. According to the accepted definition of the time, he may not have been a primal, but the mode of his manifestation was in every aspect the same, so he was a primal. Got it. I mean, I can see that. Screw Chaos, yeah. It's definitely a more, spicier outfit. And you can actually see that man's face for once, you know? Because, like, you know, he was wearing those ugly goggles for, like, the whole beginning of part of the game, except for one small adventure with the Warriors of Darkness, where he had like a COVID mask on. But, you know, we finally get to see his full face and his beautiful hair. That man's got some beautiful hair, man. And he was hiding it the entire game. I can't believe you, Uriage. How could you hide those beautiful locks of hair? Crazy, man. Slutty Ellizons. Hey, my main is an Ellizon. I mean, I'll take that if that's a compliment. I do love my Terumi, though. Anyway. Through the maelstrom, long dormant forces had begun to stir, their awakening. Presage of night eternal for the betterment of Eorzea, the signs of the seventh dawn had reestablished themselves beyond the reach of those who would sway them for personal gain. However, to stave off the encroaching darkness and pull the realm back from the brink of destruction, the warrior of light and his comrades would need plunge headlong into a political maelstrom. Oh gosh, not politics. Oh no. Okay, I forgot about the veil. Fair enough. I forgot he had that for a bit. Oh, Uriage, man. I mean, to be fair, he also becomes an astrologian, so I don't know if that's something. I mean, he can read everyone's star signs or something, I guess. I don't know. Uriage. Oh. Man. Also, you know, I find it funny he's just chilling when you find him in a kingdom of, like, pixies. It's like, man... This guy. Wait, wait a minute, I just realized, does that mean Uriage could technically be a fairy godmother? Oh gosh, why is that in my head? Anyway, moving on! The Dolmen Dilemma. The Signs of the Seventh Dawn continued to receive all manner of petitions, even at their new headquarters, the Rising Stones, in the frontier lands of Mordona. Though some were of questionable merit, one in particular warranted their immediate attention. The Emulsion Sons Mineral Concern had recently discovered that they had been the target of a series of covert robberies, which were currently under investigation by the Brass Blades. Normally, mere theft would not be deserving of the Sign's attention. However, a significant quantity of crystals, and not only crystals, had been stolen, suggesting that the thieves acted not out of self-interest, but in the service to a primal. Given their proximity, the Amalja were considered the most likely suspects. However, with the assistance of the Brass Blades of Horizon, the Signs eventually concluded that the thieves were not native to Thanalan at all. Oh, man. Uriage was your first crush? I remember that. Crushed on him when he was dressed as potato bags with flip-flops? Yes, you liked him back when he was wearing that atrocious outfit. Oh, gosh. Which means you probably like him even more now. Oh, man. Oh, boy. I can't wait for you to get to Endwalker, Screw Chaos. Oh, man. You think you like Uriage now? Oh, boy. That's all I'm gonna say. It will only get worse for you. Enjoy the journey. Meanwhile, in Vesper Bay, a small vessel bearing refugees from the far eastern land of Doma, still one of my favorite areas, had unexpectedly arrived, their leader loudly proclaiming that she sought an audience with the ruler of Ulda, Uriage. Uriage! Hey, Uriage mentioned. Uriage, who had remained in the port to look after the waking sands and pursue his independent studies of primals, at once contacted Minphilia, who bade the Warrior of Light and Alphino make contact with the Domans and their mass leader Yugiri. Fun fact, by the way, if we're talking about crushes in Final Fantasy, Yugiri was mine, so Yeah, I have been a Yugiri fan since like day one. I need to show you my SC14 man tier list. Oh boy. All I'm gonna ask is where is Thancred on the list? Where is Thancred? I need to know where you put Thancred on the list. Yugiri, super pretty girl. Yes, she's still my favorite personally. I've been a Yugiri fan since day one. And until Endwalker, she was out of all the like main story characters in the game, she was my favorite. And she was like completely uncontested. They added characters Endwalker on that started contesting with her for my favorite, even though she still to this day remains my favorite. But at least until Endwalker, she didn't have competition. Now she has some competition for my favorite, but she still is my favorite. Depend on the extension? What do you mean by extension? What do you mean by that? The refugee leader explained to the Scions that following the death of the Garlean Emperor Solus Fungalvis, the Domans had espied an opportunity to free themselves from the yoke of imperial oppression and took up arms against the Empire. In the end, however, the rebellion was crushed, and Doma was razed to the ground as an example to other provinces, definitely not done by a certain Xenos or anything. Totally not. Nope. Yugiri was thus forced to lead her people from Othard to Eorzea, where they hoped to find sanctuary. With Alphino's aid, Yugiri was granted an audience with the rulers of Ul'dah that she might plead her case. Alas, despite the best wishes of the Sultana, due to their ongoing struggles to care for the displaced victims of the calamity and Alamegan refugees, the Domans were turned away! Fortunately, they found a new home in Revenant's Toll, where they could work as frontier hands in exchange for food and shelter. Thancred ARR is not on the same level as Thancred Shadowbringers. For that is true. As everyone jokes, every expansion, Thancred is just a completely different person, because you have Playboy Thancred in ARR, then pretty much he's not in Heavensward at all outside of like at the end. So I really don't count him being in Heavensward. And then in Stormblood, technically a little bit of Heavensward, but mostly Stormblood, you have like Vigilante Thancred, where pretty much all he's doing is just showing up and being a badass, like, and that's all he's doing. And then in Shadowbringers, you have Daddy Thancred. I shan't comment more on that. And then you know, I could say it because it's not going to spoil really anything, but in Endwalker, you have I guess Commander Thancred, without saying too much detail because spoilers, but yeah, Military Commander Thancred. Yeah, Playboy Thancred, Emo Thancred, Dad Thancred. Yes, that's from what you've seen. You're pretty accurate there, Screw Chaos. Just wait till you get to Endwalker and you can see the next evolution of Thancred. And then there's Dawn Trail Thancred, which is just an experience, and I shan't even comment on that, but yeah. I think probably my favorite Thancred is probably the Endwalker Thancred, followed by the emo vigilante Thancred from Stormblood / a teeny bit of Heavensward. But yeah, yeah, just wait till you get to just wait till you get to Endwalker and you can see that Thancred, because that Thancred's my personal favorite. Also, that Thancred is the meme Thancred too. Forgot about that. Yes, Commander Thancred with the memes, especially the infamous meme that everybody knows, and I knew even before I got to Endwalker, the this is Thancred meme. In my very top of husbands, there's 4 people, only one sign. I know Xenos is one. You don't have to tell me. I know Xenos is one, and I know Ariange is the Scion. I don't know the other 2 though. If one is not Hildebrand Manderville, I start. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. The Lord of the Whirl, after helping the Dolmens to broker an arrangement with the Adventurers Guild of Revenant's Toll, the Scions turned their attention to a developing situation in Vilbrand. Y'shtola had returned from her investigation there, having confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Serpent Reavers were behind the crystal thefts in Thanaland. All evidence suggested that the Sahagin were preparing to summon Leviathan once more, and so it was that Admiral Melro petitioned the Scion's aid in preventing the Primals reawakening. Also, this is cool art right here of don't know how much I can show the camera here. Camera angles. Okay, anyway. But yeah, cool art of the of Leviathan versus different Scions. It's pretty cool art. I like that art. Xenos isn't in the top. He's only 5th place. What, man? Man, no wonder Xenos isn't gonna like you, Screw Chaos. You might regret that later on in the story. I'm just saying. Man, poor Xenos. All he wants is a friend to beat up, you know? He just wants a friend to be his punching bag. But he'll still be a loyal friend as long as you're his punching bag, you know? But he has to be number 1. Otherwise, he's gonna be jealous, and you don't want a jealous Xenos. That might not end well for you. Okay, with the support of the Maelstrom, the Warrior of Light and his comrades managed to force their way inside the Saspa spawning grounds, where the Sahagin were conducting their summoning ritual. Alas, despite their best efforts, the Beastmen were successful, and Leviathan was come once more. Dun 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 dun. The Primal soon bent his course for the open sea, and there effortlessly dispatched a diversionary squadron of the Crimson Fleet, forcing Admiral Melrobe and the others to reassess their available options. I love Xenos a lot, but I'm not sure a wedding would be dangerous. Understatement. Actually, I'm pretty sure Xenos would just want to elope, run off to a distant planet, and just be for the rest of eternity, just be in an endless punching fest with, or wrestling tournament with you. Yeah, or something like that. You know, until the stars fell or something. You know, just endlessly wrestle for the rest of eternity. That'd be Xenos. Yeah, right there. Anyway, the Allies soon struck upon a most unorthodox solution, courtesy of Storm at Marshal Eisenhower, however you say that, to harness the power of corrupted crystals born upon an improvised twin vessel to rob Leviathan of his command over the element of water, being the best and only plan available. All involved swiftly agreed to support the endeavor, and Nal Duiqui and Vilmes quickly set to work on the vessel's construction. I'm not even these names, man. Still not as bad as Dawn Trail names, though. Once preparations were complete, the flagship of the Crimson Fleet, the Triumph, towed the Whirl Eater into the sea, along with the Warrior of Light, to confront the fell Primal. And so it was that following a titanic struggle on the high seas, he succeeded in vanquishing Leviathan, sparing Limsel Minsa untold devastation and death. I'm a Lalfell. I can't compete in a 1v1. It's only against him. Oh no. Yeah, you just be a bouncy ball at that point. Xenos would just bounce you around like a basketball or something. I don't know. That might not end well. In the wake of the calamity, the hamlet of Halfstone was obliterated by a tidal wave of Leviathan's making. Though it was a bold, reckless plan, the Maelstrom had no choice but to risk everything on the Whirl Eater and the Warrior of Light to prevent Limsel Minsa from meeting with a similar fate. Yes. Yes, indeed. Defenders of Eorzea. Ooh. When the Sahagin had summoned Leviathan, Lord of the Whirl, that was the unbridled fury of the sea. That the unbridled fury of the sea would wash away those who would threaten their livelihood. Limsel Minsa turned to the Warrior of Light and his allies, who drove this sinister serpent back into the briny deep. However, the Scions of the Seven Dawn would soon find that the people of Vilbrand were far from the only ones in need of succor. Oh boy. Gotta hand out those suckers. Oh no! I flipped the page by accident. Revolution! Dun 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 dun. Also, that is some cool art too. Man, this book's got such good art. I should say Final Fantasy has good art. Oh boy, you actually made a tier list. Oh man. Wow. That is a tier list and a half right there. Wait. Hold on. Hold on. You're derailing the stream, Screw Chaos, but I'll show this. I'll show this on stream. Hold on. Why am I doing this? Behold the tier list, everybody. So, you know, I approve of the top 4. I will say though, there's a certain Ara man on the top here that I don't know, man. He might be already claimed, and you might have to beat up a certain blue-skinned Zayla for him. You know, I don't know if that end well trying to go for him, but you know, the other 3, yes. And I approve of a certain one on the left here, especially because we all know that Hashrafat, man, rest in peace, bro. Truly one of the best characters in the game. Will forever be missed. You're a Sadu Serena okay. I don't see that one at all, because I don't know. When I went through the story, all I could see was Sado being tsundere for Mr. Little Sun over here, but that was just me. Also, I prefer Yuri over bad enemies to lovers. Sorry, hey, that's fair. Personal preference. Also, I gotta ask, why is Warrior, the freaking Warrior... Okay, well, unless you're counting Ardbert from Shadowbringers, but I was gonna say, why is like, the Warrior of Light in the 3rd tier here, but, I guess it can work if it's Ardbert from, Shadowbringers. But, man, also, some of the guys in here are just like, I never would have guessed they'd even be on a tier list, but they're in here. Ardbert? Oh, man. Wait a minute. Hold on. The big question is, where did you put Hildebrand? Is he even on here? Is he on this list? Wait. Wait a minute. Wait, is there no Hildebrand on this list? Oh, man. Oh, you're in ads? Okay, I'll wait for the ads to be done. I love the Who section. The Who section is great. The sad thing is, I know so many of these characters in the Who section, and I hate it. It's like, man, I will say, like, almost entirely all of the Who section is Shadowbringers and Endwalker characters, and a few different class quest characters. That's funny, though. I hate that I know almost everybody in the Who section. There's only one I don't know, and it's this person right here with the cowboy hat. Who is this cowboy hat person? I don't even know who this is. That's the only one I don't know. Okay, anyway, where's Hildebrand? Because clearly I'm just... Oh, wait, no! He's right there. Wait, oh, you only have Hildebrand in date? Nah, bruh. Nah, come on. You didn't even put him a tier above Mr. Oh, what is his name? The red dude that with the chicken. What's his name? Fudge. Why am I forgetting his name? Come on. You gotta put Hildebrand at least 1 tier higher. Come on. Poor Hildebrand, man. And his dad, you put him with his dad? No! Why? Ugh, man. Wait, so you're gonna date him and his dad, like, at the same time? Like, that's kind of... Oh, boy. Don't know how that will go over, but, you know, best of luck to you, I guess. I love Greg. Yes, good old Greg. Good old Greg. Also, why is Hraesvelgr on the not even in this tier list? Why is Hraesvelgr even in this tier list, man? Wait, why is freaking Ifrit in the tier list? What the heck? Wait a minute, hold on. Wait a minute. Wait, we have two Neros here. Hold on. We have one Nero in the third tier, and then we have another Nero in the no tier. But Nero is like one of the most unchanged characters in the entire game. Like, this man never changes. Okay, you gotta explain to me the Nero one, screw Chaos. Why is Nero twice and in like complete opposite ends? Like, I need to know. I need to know the reasoning on the Nero listing here. Also, I like how you put a character that I know you don't know in the How About a Date one with the third one. That's funny. That's actually funny to me, because I know you don't know that character. Why at the same time? I mean, they are father and son, and knowing how the Hildebrand family is, they tend to know what each other's doing all the time, so, yeah. Aaronville is cute, okay. Fair. Eh. Wait a minute, you put... Okay, there's another character in Toxic Relationship that I know you don't know. Oh, man, okay, yep. This is so funny to me. They're... Also, I like the final tier here. That's funny. I know, but Nero AR, I would have to be like, I don't know, just evil gay man. I don't know, but then Chris Tower, oh my god, love that mischievous man. Yes, but he's literally the same. He's literally the same. The only difference is that he realized his obsession with Mr. Garland over here had a moment to be reawakened at the you know, when you go to defeat the ultimate weapon, which is why that whole thing happens. Wow, screw Chaos, that's why he's there, really? Oh my gosh. Oh, that's funny. I can't wait for you to get to Endwalker now. Oh man. Oh man, I cannot wait for you to get to Endwalker. There's so much on this that's probably gonna change when you get to Endwalker. Oh man. I also gotta ask why the carpenter, the woodworking guild guy is in the Sometimes We Kiss category. Do you want to explain this? Do you want to explain this? I need to know. Why is he here? Why is the Become the Woodman here? That man has some lines, I gotta say. Have you actually done his quest? Man, that man has some of the most sexually explicit lines I've ever seen in a crafting quest. Like, what the heck? In order to know the wood, you must become the wood, stroke the wood, love the wood. I'm just like, bro, I just want to craft, man. Oh, gosh. My gosh. Also, I feel like Lord Heen should be higher, but maybe that's just because I love Lord Heed so much. He's still one of my like favorite male characters in the game, and he doesn't get enough screen time. Gosh dang it! I need more Lord Heed. Also, I just realized that you have the one primal of blades in the third tier here, and I'm a little concerned. Do you like bugs, Screw Chaos? Do you like bugs? Because he's pretty much a giant bug with like General Grievous swords. I'm kind of concerned. I see. uh. Wait a minute, I just realized there's two Estinians, but are there two Uriages? I didn't see another Uriage. Is there not another Uriage? They only put one Uriage in here, but then they also put two Estinians? What the heck? No way. No way. I can't believe this. I don't see another Uriage. Oh, wait, no, it's at the top. Ah, never mind. I was blind. Yeah, there's two. I see it now. Okay. I like this bug. Oh, you're a Tekken fan. Okay. Okay, that see that makes some more sense. I didn't know. I didn't know when you did this tier list, okay? I didn't know if you did it early enough in the game that you didn't actually know what his full face looked like, okay? But also, knowing you probably spoiled yourself anyway. Did you spoil yourself? Or did someone else spoil you? Also, I approve of the guy from Alexander being up here, by the way. Did it recently? Ah, okay. Yeah, see, that explains some things. Also, I gotta say, have you ever done the Ishgard Restoration quest line, Screw Chaos? Because I will say, man, there's a... I do my best to avoid the spoils. Good, I'm proud of you. You must avoid the spoils at all cost. Spoiling is bad. Avoid the spoils. But, what is his name? I hate how I forget names so easily. Oh, what is his name? I'm literally flipping through the book just because I'm trying to remember his name. There we go. How can I forget his name? Sir Emmerich. I gotta say, Sir Emmerich is one of the most lovable characters in the game because the more you learn about him, the more you realize that at heart he's just a big giant teddy bear. I love him. That's why I accepted Francel and Dave because he's not my type, but boy was he so cute during the restoration. Fair. Yes, the Ishgard family dramas are great. Also, I gotta say, Lord Emmerich, man, Sir Emmerich, Lord Emmerich, whatever you want to call him, man, I love this character already, but then you like do all like the Ishgard restoration stuff and the different festival stuff, and then the one Easter egg thing in like the housing area in Ishgard. It's just like, and then the like few times he's appeared in like the Starlight Festival and stuff, I'm just like, man, this guy is just a giant teddy bear. He's great. Also, the friendship between him and Estinian is freaking hilarious because they're like polar opposites, but they're still like borderline best friends, and it's great. Man. But yes, great tier list. I approve of like 90% of this, and then there's like 10% I'm just like, why? But hey, fair enough. Also, never do the warrior quest line. Just never do the warrior quest line. That like you think the carpenter quest is bad for for certain lines, man, the warrior quest blows it out of the water. Oh gosh. Um oh, I don't want to remember that quest line anyway. Back to the book. Let's see here. Where were we? Oh yes, revolution. In the wake of the Domans' failed bid for asylum, deep-seated tensions between refugees and Uldan's citizens quickly worsened. The manner of the Syndicate's refusal to accept the Domans emboldened the nativists, and the refugees rallied in protests, some of which grew violent. However, in light of how well-armed the refugees were, suspicions were raised that the riots may have been instituted by outside forces, and a joint investigation by the Signs of the Seventh Dawn and the Immortal Flames soon yielded a suspect, a merchant in the employ of Teleji Adeleji. Oh gosh, screw that guy. There are men and women who will not supple to set the world ablaze in the pursuit of power. Teleji Adeleji was one such man, having orchestrated the refugee uprising and its inevitable failure from the start. General Ban and the Sultana concluded that he intended to exploit the chaos in order to gain control of the Cartano Flats, a disputed territory, by way of the Cartano Reclamation Bill, a proposal to annex the region so that the refugees might there establish permanent settlements. In truth, however, Teleji Adeledi's aim was not to claim the Cartano Flats itself, but what had once been buried deep beneath it, Omega, an elegant creation not unlike the Ultima weapon, which had been laid bare by the destruction wrought by Bahamut during the Calamity. I wonder what Teleji would have done with Omega if he had gotten it first. Because just knowing Omega from the Stormblood questline is kind of just its own sentient being, and I don't think he would have been able to control it anyway. But knowing Omega, it just would have sought out the most powerful thing currently on the planet and probably fought it anyway if it had gotten awakened that early, which I don't know what that would have been at that point in the story, but yeah. Elegant inscriptions indicate it was created to contend with the Dreadworm himself, and were someone to harness the power of this relic, they would have the strength to subjugate all of Eorzea, or so it was feared. Yeah. I remember at the time that's what like everyone's concern was with in ARR. They were like, oh, this thing could be used to like, you know, conquer all of Eorzea and all this other stuff. But then knowing what Omega just is from like Stormblood, and obviously not only Stormblood, but honestly recently in a certain collab with Monster Hunter Wilds, it's just like, yeah, no, that would there's no way you can control this thing. It's its own thing. How precisely to administer the ruins had been a point of contention for some time, which is why every nation maintained a military presence in the region and regularly engaged in what would charitably be called war games. Yes, PvP. Ultimately, even should the situation remain unresolved, it was the Alliance leaders' hope that this chaos would serve to dissuade any outside parties from venturing too close. Alas, despite uncovering Teleji Adeleji's role in recent events, the Sultana and those loyal to her could do nothing to bring him to justice. For without incontrovertible evidence of a crime, any aggressive action would only play into his hands. Screw Teleji Adeleji. The Lord of Levin. That's some cool art of him. I like how his eyes are glowing with lightning. That's pretty cool. With the unrest in Ulda quelled for some time, the Signs of the Seventh Dawn once more returned their attentions to Gridania, where it was believed that the Sylphs had summoned the primal Ramu. As the beastmen had rarely exhibited signs of aggression toward their neighbors, Kanisena held hope that their patron god could be persuaded to forgo hostilities. She bade the Warrior of Light and his allies seek an audience with the Lord of Levin, and after engaging with the Sylphs, the Scions eventually succeeded. Ramu was quick to condemn Gridania and Garlean alike. Ramu was quick to condemn Gridanian and Garlean alike. I mean, they do both start with a G. Proclaiming that the good intention of one did not excuse the misdeeds of the other. But though initially dismissive of the Scions' attempts at mediation, Upon learning that the Warrior of Light was in possession of the crystal he himself bestowed upon the sylphs, the Lord of Levin elected to suspend judgment until the Warrior of Light himself underwent a trial by combat. Thus was he forced to strike down Ramu, and in so doing earn the right to champion the cause of peace in the Black Shroud. Unlike other primals, Lord Ramu was no raging avatar of destruction. He was revered as much for his wisdom as his strength, serving as both arbiter and guardian to his children, the sylphs. One of the few primals that you never actually kill, because he just is chilling in the forest. The Crystal Braves. Oh boy, not the Crystal Braves. Later become the Crystal Cowards. Anyway, up. Despite the Eorzean Alliance's declaration that the Seventh Astral Era was at hand, and that the realm had entered a new period of peace and prosperity, recent events had made clear to Alphen Olivier that nothing could be further from the truth. He concluded it was necessary to establish a realm-wide grand company. But while the three nations' leaders were not opposed to the idea itself, endless deliberations over its implementation slowed progress to a crawl. In order to demonstrate the efficacy of such a company and thus encourage the leaders to come to an agreement, Alphino then proposed the creation of a smaller precursor organization, the Vanguard, to a future united Eorzea. The Crystal Braves would operate beyond the limitations of nations and borders in order to tackle the root of the primal threat and effectively counter the schemes of the Ascians. Comprised of valorous men and women recruited from all of Eorzea, they were to answer directly to the antecedent of the Signs of the Seventh Dawn herself as the organization's inaugural ceremony. Crystal Brave Commander Levier delivered a rousing speech to the fledgling guardians of Eorzea, who raised their voices and declared as one that they would fight for the freedom of all, if only that actually happened. Dreams of Ice. Oh, look, it's one of my other favorite characters. Rest in peace. Lady Iceheart, aka Yazel. The lofty ambitions of Alphino Levier had at last been realized, and the newly formed Crystal Braves now stood as the vanguard for a united Eorzea. Together with the Warrior of Light and his allies, they were ready to confront the myriad problems which beset the realm, beginning with a mysterious plot that threatened to bring the land to its knees. Tendrils of intrigue. Owing to an anonymous source, the Crystal Braves identified a suspected Garlean agent within the Immortal Flames. Upon further investigation, however, they learned that he was but one of many such agents in the employ of the Ivy, an Imperial spy master who had long ago infiltrated the Grand Company. Uncertain how widespread the Ivy's tendrils were, General Raban of the Immortal Flames and Captain Ilbert of the Crystal Braves agreed that they would need to proceed with all due discretion, lest the Ivy become aware of their efforts. Meanwhile, in the northern parts of Cartno, the city-state of Ishgard, which had for so long kept her neighbors at arm's length, reached out to the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. Sir Emmerich de Borel, hey, I know that guy, Lord Commander of the Ishgard Temple Knights and Viscount of House Boreal, agreed to treat with Alfio Levier and the Warrior of Light at Camp Dragonhead at a meeting hosted by Lord Hosherpont, of House Fortam. Though Alphino had hoped Ishgard might be persuaded to rejoin the Eorzean Alliance, it quickly became apparent that the Holy See had no such intention. Furthermore, to his dismay, the cordial relationship between House Fortam and the Scions of the Seventh Dawn had come under query, leading to calls for restrictions on the provision of aid to foreign powers. The ambassador then revealed the true reason for which he had come to the meeting. The astrologians of Ishgard had foretold the return of Midgard Silmar, the fallen guardian of Silvertear Falls, and Sir Emmerich wished to enlist the Scion's aid in keeping watch over the Great Worm's remains. In exchange, he would ensure that all shipments of aid from House Fortam to Revenant's Toll would continue unabated. Though it was not the grand success he had envisioned, Alphino was nevertheless satisfied with what he hoped would serve as the foundation of a future relationship between Ishgard and her neighbors, which it did, to be fair. The Lady of Frost. Alas, mere moments after agreeing to terms with Sir Emmerich, Alphino learned that the latest shipments from House Fortam had been waylaid by heretics, heresy, rebels who had chosen to cast their lot with the Dravanians, the sworn enemies of Ishgard, with whom they had fought for 1,000 years in what was known as the Dragon Song War. This particular band of heretics was loyal to a mysterious figure known only as Lady Iceheart, and under her leadership they had grown more aggressive, seizing large crystal shipments with alarming regularity. A survivor of the latest attack reported that the heretics had spoken of the impending resurrection of Shiva, the patron saint of the heretics, and a messianic figure whom they likely intended to summon as a primal. The Scions and the Crystal Braves sprang into action, and together with Sir Emmerich's Temple Knights, they managed to track the heretics to a network of secret tunnels in Snowcloak, the great ice wall formed in the aftermath of the calamity, which was long thought an impenetrable barrier between central and western Coerthas. Deep within this labyrinth, Warren, the Warrior of Light, confronted Lady Iceheart for the first time, only to see her slip away with the aid of an Aetheryte. Her declaration is, "What we do for the greater good," ringing in his ears. Though he had made considerable efforts to discourage their attempts, the Scions of the Summoned Dawn eventually managed to follow Lady Iceheart to her sanctuary, the Akafa Amphitheater. Once more, the Warrior of Light attempted to dissuade her from her path, but in the end, he could only look on as the young maiden offered her own body as a vessel for Shiva's soul. The resurrected saint Vel lashed out with righteous fury, pushing the Warrior of Light to his mortal limits, yet the battle ended as it had begun, with the young maiden kneeling in the snow, cursing his ignorance, before she once more made her escape. The Scion's other quarry, however, would not prove so elusive. The Ivy, Imperial spymaster whom Allied forces with the aid of Lady Ugiri and her people had labored in secret to track, had at last been identified as none other than Flame Marshal Elin Royale, General Rubon's second in command. Though the spy escaped her confines once and attempted to seek refuge with her Imperial allies, she was eventually recaptured at Rubon's push by a combined force of Crystal Braves and Doman Shinobi. With the Ivy unmasked and her network of spies in disarray, the Empire's power to observe and influence Eorzean affairs was greatly diminished. Nevertheless, the revelation of Elaine Royale's betrayal had shaken the Alliance to its core. I really like this art of Shiva and Yazael, or Iceheart. Apostate to the Holy See, patron saint to the heretics, Shiva lay down with dragons long ago. A historical figure long dead, she would find new life when summoned into the body of Yazael, the young maiden who had taken the title of Lady Iceheart. And the final part of Pre-Heaven's Ward. Oh boy, here we go. Boy. Before the fall. With the emergence of a new emperor in Garlemald, the threat of an imperial invasion once again loomed over Eorzea. Meanwhile, revelations of conspiracy sowed strife among Ulda's ruling class, and the Sultana's precarious peace hung in the balance. The Rising Chorus. After assisting the Crystal Braves with an investigation into a black marketer suspected of supplying Uldan refugees with weapons, the Warrior of Light was once more summoned to meet with an Ishgard envoy. According to Lucia, first commander of the Temple Knights, the astrologians of the Observatorium had sounded the alarm, for the Dragon Star had burned with an intensity not seen in 15 summers, when the Dravanians routed the Imperial fleet in the Battle of Silvatier's skies. The brightening of the Dragon Star was said to accompany the roar of a great worm, and the astrologians interpreted this as a portent of Midgard Summer's imminent resurrection. The Knights of Ishgard were in no position to dispatch forces to the Keeper of the Lake at the time, and so Sir Emmerich bade the Warrior of Light investigate the site on their behalf and ascertain the veracity of the astrologians' claims. Atop the wreckage of the Agrius, the brave hero confirmed Ishgard's worst fears had come to pass when he confronted the fallen guardian of Silvertear Falls. Seemingly risen from the dead, with no choice but to fight, the adventurer engaged the Worm Lord in battle, at last laying him to rest forever. At least we thought. However, as he turned to leave, the voice of the unbowed Midgard Summer rang out once more, inviting the Warrior of Light to plead his case. Yet words fell on deaf ears, and the Worm Lord flatly stated that his children now sang of Ishgard's imminent destruction. Midgard Summer then made ready to end the adventurer's life, only to hesitate when Hyalin herself intervened and marked him as one of her chosen. Midgard Summer then relented, but not 4, somehow stripping the Warrior of Light of the Mother Crystal's blessing, revealing that an ancient covenant made with Hydaelyn in a time before time had bound him to the adventurer. The essence of the Worm Lord coalesced into a tiny vessel, through which he would watch, listen, and weigh the worth of Hydaelyn's chosen in the departed days ahead. In the desperate days ahead. Lucia granted the Warrior of Light upon his return, greeted the Warrior of Light upon his return, and unaware of his new burden, she thanked him for besting Midgardsormr and for bringing confirmation of the impending Dravanian attack. Ishgard had wreathed countless assaults over centuries, and this would be no different, or so she and many others believed. I love how Midgardsormr is one of the few people that technically takes away, or technically beats the Warrior of Light's power. Life for death. So long as the Ascians were allowed to act with impunity, the Signs of the Seventh Dawn would be powerless to prevent others from learning the secrets of summoning. Simply striking down the Paragons would not suffice, as with the aid of their crystals of darkness, they could discard their physical forms and withdraw to the shores of the ethereal sea, thereby escaping death. Therefore, in order to more effectively combat the primal menace, the organization had secretly begun research into developing a means to permanently dispatch these so-called immortal beings. One ally in this endeavor was Minbrida, an accomplished Charlian scholar and an authority on aetheryte technologies. Before coming to Eorzea, she had been studying white acerite, a material she believed could be used to capture an Ascian soul. A trapped soul could then be obliterated with a concentration burst or blade of purest ether. Though this method would require a staggering amount of ether to execute, the scholar had devised an ingenious solution: aetheryte siphons, which could be used to extract... You know what I just realized? I never read the description of this art of Silvertear Falls up here. During the Battle of Silvertear Skies, both Midgardsormr and the Agrias fell to the earth, and their tangled remnants, known as the Keeper of the Lake, stand as a memorial to this day, a ruined airship and the charred corpse of the Worm Lord who brought it low, forever devoid of life. Yep. Anyway, back down here. Wait a minute. Though this method would require a staggering amount of ether to execute, the scholar devised an ingenious solution: etheric siphons, which could be used to extract the required energy from corrupted crystals found across Eorzea, enabling one to call upon the necessary energies at a moment's notice. Unfortunately, while field testing one such device, Minbrida and the Warrior of Light were approached by an Ascian who introduced himself as Nabrielis. Upon sensing that the adventurer was no longer possessed of Hydaelyn's blessing, however, the Paragon teleported away, seemingly intent on taking advantage of the sign's vulnerability to steal Tube Samati, a legendary staff once wielded by Archon Louis Sois himself. The pair gave chase and arrived back at the Rising Stones to find Nebrialis already in the solar with Minfilia, the Antecene, clutching the shards of the broken Tube Samati. With dismissive contempt, the Ascian revealed his plans to use the power yet hidden within the staff to bring about a new rejoining. He then tore open a dimensional rift, through which he escaped with both Minfilia and the relic she held, and the Warrior of Light followed. In that otherworldly void, the adventurer defeated the Ascian foe and rescued Minfilia, returning all three to the Rising Stones. There, before the awakened Ascian could flee into the void, Minfilia succeeded in trapping his soul within the chunks of white acerite. But try as he might, the Warrior of Light was unable to summon enough ether to truly destroy the fiend, because he lost his power. As she witnessed Light struggle to triumph over Dark, Minbrida finally came to understand her mentor Louis Sois' dedication to his duty. The wounded scholar then expended her own life energy in a brilliant burst of ether, allowing the Warrior of Light's glowing blade to at last pierce Nabrialis' essence. The Ascian was defeated, never to return, but in the process the Signs were deprived of a precious ally and dear friend, especially poor Oriange. The Steps of Faith. The Signs of the Seventh Dawn had but a moment to mourn their loss before grave tidings from Ishgard commanded their full attention. The Dravanian horde had at last begun its assault. Sir Emmerich himself had sallied forth with a contingent of temple knights and several companies of the noble house's finest. But though they briefly forced their foes into retreat, the Ishgardians had suffered grievous losses. Once more Lucia came to the Rising Stones, this time to seek the aid of the Crystal Braves and the Grand Companies in bolstering the city's defenses. However, the great powers of Eorzea had not forgotten how Ishgard refused to come to their aid at the Battle of Cartno. While they had no objections to the Crystal Brave's intervention, the Alliance was unwilling to pledge more than a token force to aid in Ishgard's defense, citing local concerns more deserving of their resources. The leaders refused to provide meaningful assistance, and suggested instead that the Scions make every effort to assemble a contingent of elite adventurers, a volunteer force under the leadership of the Warrior of Light. Adventurers enlisted in the Grand Companies were granted leave to participate, but they would not be obliged to do so. The Scions rallied what support they could and came to the aid of Ishgard, and for a time their combined forces managed to hold the line, yet their efforts were undermined through subterfuge when agents loyal to Lady Iceheart within the Temple Knights helped her to dispel the outermost layer of Danafin's Collar, a series of arcane wards that protected the Steps of Faith, the sole means of approaching the city. The mighty dragon Vishap seized upon this opportunity to lead an army of his lesser kin to the bridge in an attempt to destroy the exposed foundations of the remaining wards. Marshalling his forces, the Warrior of Light took up position on the Steps of Faith alongside the Temple Knights, and in a pitched battle that saw many casualties and nearly led to the destruction of the city, Vishap was brought low in a hail of dragon killer bolts. Upon his death, the defenders raised their voices in triumph, for by it the siege of Ishgard had been ended, not to mention a certain Estinian. The bloody banquet, yes, the ending of ARR. Also, this art, man. Very interesting art. Huh. To commend Ishgard's victory over the Dravanian horde, a feast was held in Ul'dah with the leaders of every nation of the Eorzean alliance in attendance. Regardless of the fact that the other city-states had refused to pledge considerable aid, all recognized the importance of strengthening ties with the reclusive nation and paving the way for its return to the alliance as a full-fledged member. The Scions of the Seventh Dawn were also there that day, having been recognized for their parts in lifting the siege, and the Warrior of Light for his valiant efforts as commander of the adventurers' contingent. But in a shocking turn of events, the celebrated hero of Eorzea would be condemned as a regicide. I'm just imagining. I can still hear Telegi's voice. He's accused of regicide. Freaking Telegi. Anyway, in the midst of the celebration, Captain Ilbert of the Crystal Braves delivered the Warrior of Light bound into the fragrant chamber, and together with Telegi announced that in a private meeting, the Warrior of Light had murdered with poison Her Royal Majesty Nanamo Ulnamo, and that the Scions of the Seventh Dawn were complicit in his crime. The Alliance leaders were understandably skeptical of these claims. Nevertheless, they were powerless to intervene in the domestic affairs of another nation and had no choice but to defer to the judgment of local authorities. Oh boy. However, Rabban Eldon, commander of the Immortal Flames and loyal advisor to the Sultana, was bound by no such restrictions, driven into an uncontrollable rage by Telegi's unconcealed glee at ridding himself of the Sultana once and for all. The Bull of Alamigo declared that the merchant was the culprit, executing him then and there for the deed. Lost to fury, Rabban then advanced upon Lalarido, only to be taken unawares by Captain Ilbert, who severed his arm with a single practice stroke, and in doing so revealed his true colors with an agent of the Monetarist. The fragrant chamber erupted into chaos as guests fled, leaving the Scions alone with their wounded ally and surrounded by enemies. Yet when all seemed lost, the Flame General rose to his feet once more, and in the ensuing battle succeeded in freeing the Warrior of Light from his bonds. He and Ilbert eyed each other from across the room. Rabban bade the Scions escape to clear their names and see justice done before preparing to cross swords with the man he once called brother. Thus were the Scions of the Seven Dawn scattered and forced to flee Ul'dah in infamy, their fates unknown even to one another. Yes, until, like, post-Heaven's Word, early Stormblood. As the banquet was held in the Fragrant Chamber, a hall in which the Syndicate and the Crown meet regularly to discuss matters of state, attendance was limited to a select few. Owing to this, the dramatic events of that day could be kept secret, though rumors regarding the Sultana's poor health abounded. Oh, see? Interesting. I didn't know that. That's good to know. Huh. I always wondered how, like, well-known the events of that were to, like, the general public. So I really like this Heaven's Word art. Oh my gosh, I love this Heaven's Word art right here. That's so good. Wow. Oh, and that's a Stinian in the background. Oh, nice. I really like that art. Dang. All right. Well, next time, when we pick up our reading adventure again, we will be continuing with Heaven's Ward and reading all of main Heaven's Ward. Oh my gosh. And if time permits, maybe post Heaven's Ward too, but it looks like the Heaven's Ward stuff has more to it. Cryo! Man, the art is so good in this. Holy moly. Oh yeah, and then we get to the part of the book I'm most excited about. Okay, cool. Alright, so thus concludes today's reading. In review, we read the first chapter of Genesis in the Bible. Start off the new year with the beginning of the Bible, and then we read ARR, Encyclopedia Eorzea. So another good way to start with a start. Very appropriate. Very poetic, one can say. So on that note, everybody, thank you for tuning in to another reading stream. We'll be doing this in 2 weeks from now, where we'll be doing more Bible and Encyclopedia Eorzea. I'm really looking forward to that. So, yeah, on that note, everyone, let's go find someone to raid and show some love to on Twitch. Yes. All right. Stand by, everybody.